vielen naar beneden, een heel bos viel naar beneden en de vogels, die vielen het laatst naar beneden, maar alleen tot halverwege en niemand echt heel erg.
So what is the concept of the work that you are doing at the Fur Camp?
There was the idea to make a play outside, and for the last year I have done things in my own. So like I made a presentation here last year on this place, which was about a rabbit and a hole in the ground. And then I wrote a text that I played in a theater, and then I worked in the apartment, and then I filmed things. So there were like all different actions, rather more performance than theater. And then I thought, well, perhaps it would be a good idea to ask two actors who are very nice players, who are very nice actors and nice people as well, to work in that material and together with them and some other people to form a little group that makes a play out of the different pieces or the actions that we made. So it, in a strange way, is a sort of resume of the last year, which you can hear in the play as well, because it's like made out of different parts. Like you have a sort of, someone tells something, then there's video, then there's the location, then there's lights, then there's the rabbit, then there's a text. So it's all like sort of resume of the last year. And then we played outside in a location, and then I went to different theaters to ask for a little bit of money. I mean, a little bit, some money, but together it would be a budget to work with the actors and to work with a technician or someone, and with someone else to form the group. And then it would be the idea that every theater where I ask for some money represents a city or a place in the city. And then we could play the piece in those different cities on different locations. So when you see the buildings, they're close. They're here in Antwerp, at Kiel, the apartment. So that image we will change for every city. So when someone from Ghent comes to watch the play next year in the summer in Ghent, the first image of the apartment he will see will be an apartment from Ghent. The same from Mechelen or from Kortrijk. Because the idea is that the rabbit or the figure that cannot sleep is like a sort of everyman that lives in all those cities. And then it would be the idea that the play changes whenever there's a different location. So sometimes we will play in a more like open field. That's why he wears the flag on his back. So you can see him from far coming, and now it's just wood and you can only see there, but if you're in an open field it's far. So it will not be one play like that is always the same, like in a black box that the light goes on, someone comes in and says always the same text, or it's like a change. The story will be the same, but it's like a shifting machine that goes to different places and that reinvents itself in the different cities or in the different. That's the concept, the idea.
There is another project that you are working on. And there are some connection between the two works.
Yeah, the other project is three very large apartment buildings, skyscrapers in Ghent, that will be torn down starting from next year. And they are famous, or let's say infamous, as being the ugliest buildings in Ghent, and as being the place where the poorest and the most difficult part of the population lives, which is sadly true. But also there's a lot of rumor about the buildings that is just not true. When a car burns out just because of there's a a wrong construction in the engine, and then it burns out just because of a fault from the car constructor. Then the next day the papers say that some young people set fire to the car, just like that, because it's normal that people do that sort of things in that sort of neighborhood. And then people told me that there used to be a lot of theaters and cinemas in that neighborhood, and now they're gone. And then I thought, okay, perhaps I could make a sort of theater in the living room of one of those apartments on the first floor, which is also a cinema, which is also a place to project film. And then you could see from the outside, you could see in the apartment, and there is an infini, which is a theater word for the background of a theater. Like in old 19th century theaters, you see the hero standing on stage, and behind him there is a wood or the sea or just clouds. Or that's called an infini. It's a horizon that is not real. It's an unreal place. And then I thought it would be good to, in that sort of living room, to have a sort of infini. And then with the people that visit me, because it's sort of a personal atelier, the apartment, where I just work and write, and then a lot of the people, they come by, they see there's someone working in a sort of strange scene, and then they come in and they drink coffee, and I learn to we talk, and then I collect things about their stories or about what they would like to do, but not the stories that they always tell, not the drug abuse, not the problems that they have, not the lack of money, or I look for the other stories. Like there's someone who cannot write, and then he has invented an own system to write down things, and that's a good story. That's a story I want to use. And I always film people in front of that strange wood. So once I filmed with a woman who is not able enough to come to the atelier, and she died afterwards. And the things that she tells are useful. It's a good story, but when you see the images on video, it's not useless. It's useless because it's too sad where she lives, and you only look at the very sad surroundings and very poor state of her apartment, and you do not listen to the story. And then it's very good to place the people in front of and I'm hoping to make a book and a documentary about the work. When the apartments go down, that there will be some sort of collective personal collective memory about the apartment and about the people who live there, because the city will erase everything. They had the choice to wait another 2 years to leave the buildings there, and then neighbors could be kept as neighbors and moved together to a new place, or because they will be building new apartments, so they could have done that, and they didn't. It was really the intention to cut out all social link and all structures that are existing, and to how do you say it? To cut out all the people that know each other, and to make them hopefully just to spread them out. There's a word for it. It's called gentrification. So the city itself renews itself and pushes out poor people, colored people, and the more problematic to the outskirts, and which is here in Flanders. It's really how our cities are developing. It used to be that the city was like dark, not so nice place, and now it's like filling itself or renewing itself with the intellectual, cultural, and rich young people, and all the rest has to go, and it goes like it's really an evolution that you can track down, and you could put lines on the ground. It goes to here, like the house numbers. It's really it's a very not drastic. It's really an evolution that is very visible if you want to see it. And I get the intention that nobody really wants to see it, because they're always victims of this movement. So that is the idea of the documentary and the book, to collect a sort of memory about the people that live there. Or, yeah.
And how does it connect to this place?
Because in this play you see a rabbit that cannot sleep. It's an animal, but you could say, okay, it's just like a telltale, it's just like a figure that's out of fantasy, but it's more interesting if you give it a very realistic background. If you play it in the wood, which is easy to make into a sort of dreamlike image, but it would be a lot more interesting to make the rabbit into a sort of figure that really lives in our cities and really lives in our neighborhoods, and not saying that the rabbit is the socially unaccepted, but it's close to that one, to that sort of, so you could say that, and also the images in the beginning of the piece on film are rather documentary-like images. So you could say it's sort of that this piece or this play is sort of a mirror image to the documentary that I'd like to make. And perhaps the rabbit will appear in the documentary as well. Perhaps it's sort of a sort of everyman figure, a sort of metaphor for the people we live with but do not really understand. And also it's about, this play is about the lack of sleep and how hard it is when you cannot sleep or when you cannot. And I discovered, like talking with a lot of people in the apartment, I discovered that poverty and the lack of money, or what we call the lack of money, or how used we are to call poverty the lack of money, very often is just the lack of a sort of mental peace or a sort of self-confidence and a sort of and this is a way to tell about that sort of poverty or sort of uneasiness. It's a sort of Unheimlichkeit. Yeah. So that's the sort of strange link between both. And as well, the apartment is inside with an unreal wood in the background, with real people in a sort of documentary. And this is a play in a real wood with a documentary in it that's unreal about an apartment. So there's a sort of, it all shifts towards each other. Yeah. Yeah.
How does the play look like?
How does the play look like?
There is the rabbit, there's
Yeah.
the projection.
Yeah, first of all, there's a location. There is there's a place, mostly on the outskirts of a town, and then people come there and late at night or when it's dark, and we try to welcome them. That's why we made an oven and made some bread, so you can give something, because here it's okay because the bar is nearby. But when you go to like a sort of a desolated place in another town, you must have something to offer to people. And then there's a strange film that starts about a rabbit that says that it cannot sleep, and there's a girl who says she has the same problem. And then afterwards people discover that there's a hole in the ground, and the rabbit does a lot of things there, and most of it is working with sound and with image. And then then the girl tells a story at the end of which is about sleep and how to find sleep. It's more, the play is more about a feeling, to create a feeling or an experience in the public about sleep and the importance of having a mental peace and a good place where you can stay. And so it is about warmth and eating and being at rest somewhere, and yeah, that's what it is about.
Now, how does it reflect to the WordCamp, this play? I mean, it's so site-specific.
Yeah, it's site-specific as well as it is specific to Scheldapel, to work here, because in normal theaters it's very hard to just build something yourself, or just say, oh, I will go outside and there's no pressure, and we will see, and oh, we miscalculated, perhaps it will be only for 30 people instead of 50 or 60. In normal theater that easily would be a problem, but in Scheldapel it reflects the way Scheldapel works.